3. Hello everybody, welcome to another CPD conference call with the IAPC&M. I'm your host, Dawn Campbell, you all know me. And today in the hot seat is a very special Jordan Baker, who's going to explain the name to you in a minute. Now, you all know the story of how I met him because I explained it in the invite that you responded to. So Jordan is the founder of Sanity Marketing, and he's our solution partner. And what's good for us is good for you. So I invited him here to talk to all of you and explain what he does and what he can do for you and create a win-win-win. Before I hand over to Jordan, if everybody could just mute themselves, please, because I know a lot of people can't make today's call and they want a copy of the recording, and that will just ensure the quality, and that will be great. Thank you. So we're going to dive straight in because there's lots to learn. Lots of tips and hints and magic around the PR and marketing, which is a whole new digital science these days. So welcome, Jordan, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So I'm currently sitting in one of our clients in King's Cross called Magaro. So they very kindly let me have one of their meeting rooms whilst I was running around today.
Okay.
So here we are. It's not my house. So just to get started, so we're Sanity Marketing, and the reason that there is an element of confusion around my name is I originally worked in banking as Jordan Baker, which is my real name. I see the Joshua actually in the corner, so that'll add a bit more confusion. And ironically, I used to work, my last banking job was around the corner from where we are now. But when I was working in banking, I did quite a lot of writing. I wrote a lot of blogs, kind of what I thought about life and going out and being kind of young and being gay and working in banking, all sorts of exciting things like that. And because I was quite a senior manager in banks, what they tend to do is they do a lot of social media checks on you. Kind of what are you saying, you know, what's going on. They obviously want to mitigate any risk of you saying anything too naughty or not in line with their values. So I thought, well, in order to not have that conversation with them, which was, I mean, I wasn't saying anything particularly naughty, I think. And so what I decided to do was I thought, well, let's create an alias, kind of, you know, a pen name, a nom de plume, let's do that. And so I thought Joshua Walker, because Joshua, my mum was going to call me the Joshua Jordan, and obviously Jordan won. And Walker, I just quite like the surname, actually. Well, she's actually a favourite character of mine in Will and Grace, but there we are. So we decided, so I created this alias, and I did a lot of writing on doing blogs. And then eventually I left banking, I had enough, and I was approached by quite a lot of publications. We can talk about those later. And I became a journalist, and I thought, well, seeing as I already have this name, and obviously the editors knew me as Joshua Walker, I thought, well, I'll just go along with that for a while. And I did. And then I got disillusioned with journalism. I thought, you know, I'm a bit poor and I'm having loads of fun, but I'm getting the bus all the time. And so I decided, actually, let's do a PR agency. And once again, because I have this name Joshua Walker, I kept it. So it was called Joshua Walker PR. And our whole thing was about getting results for people. But then over time, we realized, actually, as much as clients say they want press, they don't really want press. They want more money. They want sales. And so over time, we developed this idea of, you know, sanity equals sales, and creating a marketing company that does digital marketing using the power of PR, but actually a real keen focus on making more money for people. So we thought, well, Sanity Marketing, and I was very excited. I thought after 3 years or 4 years of being Joshua Walker, actually I could be Jordan Baker. And it becomes so much less complicated now. And I get Ubers and say, what's your name? I think, don't know. Or you go to Starbucks, what's your name? I don't know. So I'm quite pleased now. So here we are, Sanity Marketing. It's about, I think, less than a month old probably. So there we are, 10 minutes of who I am. So today I've been asked to do a talk. It's quite a basic talk. I kind of treated everybody as if they were just starting out or didn't really, pretty much just started out. So I thought what we'll do is we'll start with the basics. So we kind of develop this little talk for you. So the plan is PR and digital marketing know-how, how to increase your visibility in a crowded marketplace. I've actually got quite a few kind of life coaches or kind of mentors on our books here. We've got someone like Caroline Rice, we have a guy called Kenny DeCruz, obviously we have the lovely Dawn. So we're quite used to this sort of, to this kind of marketplace. And obviously there's an awful lot of life coaches out there, all vying for press attention, all vying for, social media ads and on social media, and obviously, all going after ultimately the same customers. So it's a marketplace we're quite used to, and one that we like to think we're pretty good at. And so here we are. So just to get started, I've given you quite a lot of details of who I am. So Jordan Baker, not Josh Shore, don't be just distracted by that name, which I'll try and change at some point. And as some of you know, that's Lola Felicia. She does most of the work. She's at home today. That's me. So kind of who are we? We are Sanity Marketing, as you know. We really focus on small businesses, small and growing businesses. We've got a kind of plethora of clients ranging from kind of like tiny little clients who are just starting out to pretty big clients. We have tons of money, like the Magara, here we are. I'm whispering because the owner is in that office. I don't want to be too loud when I'm talking about him. So there's 12 of us currently. I said it was just me originally, and I had no money, and I had a laptop I had to use to wind up, and a tin can I used to put coins in to pay for my beans on toast lunches. It was pretty sad. Now luckily there's 12 of us, which is quite nice. We are a digital marketing agency who focus on getting more money for our clients, because that's how they pay us ultimately. And we really use PR as a real core tool of what we do. I feel like there's a lot of agencies, PR agencies are normally really bad at digital marketing, and equally digital marketing companies don't know what they're doing with PR. In fact, we work with quite a lot of digital marketing companies on providing PR for their clients to help them out. So we wanted to be a digital marketing agency that was really cool at PR, because actually that was our bread and butter for a long time. We're really big on kind of like less chat and more action. So I'm just coming from a meeting just now where kind of the client's throwing a lot of stuff, and we could do this, and we could do that, and we could build this, and we could do videos, and it's like, no, let's do less talking. Let's focus on the action. Let's focus on, point one, you want to make more money. What's the easiest way of doing that? Let's really plow ahead and focus on that, rather than worrying about all these other things. And you being on this morning and working for NHS. Let's put that in our back pockets. Let's just make some core money now, and then we can then use that money to kind of fuel your growth. We do monthly running contracts, so the onus is on us to make our clients happy, which feeds into a little bit later what I talk about, kind of marketing strategy for people. We're affordable, so we try and fit in with people's budget. So our cheapest fee is $450 a month. I think our most expensive fee is £3,500 a month. But like for that, honestly, I'll walk your dog, I'll clean your toilets, do the whole shebang. So we do pretty well with that. And then obviously I've got an ex-journalist background, as I've hinted at earlier, which really helps us on the PR side. So that's a little bit about the lovely Sanity Marketing. So as I touched upon it already, so I have a corporate background. So I left school and I was very lucky. I charmed my way into Rothschild, and I worked with them for 2 years. And then I worked for the Financial Ombudsman Service during the whole PPI scandal. So they're the ones who decide if you've got PPI, and they tell the bank to pay it to you. So they're set up by legislation and funded by the banks by law. So they're all that banking police, the sister to the FCA. I've worked at HSBC, I've worked at Schroders, and my last company was New Day, who, as I say, are ironically around the corner. And they're the kind of people who give credit cards to people with poor credit and make loads of money on them, which is I don't really like. And that was me, a corporate monkey. I'm smiling there, but I wasn't smiling at the time. So after about 10 years, I decided actually let's move on. So that sets the scene then for my journalist past. So I worked at the Mail Online as a diarist. So I was the person who'd kind of go up to, I don't know, Paris Hilton with a dictaphone at a party and say, "Oi, Paris, who are you dating today?" and write a story about it. For that kind of work, you get paid about £80 a day. So it's not tons of money. And if you get a good story, you get paid, but it's just not that great. And it's a lot of fun. You get to go to a lot of cool parties. The Gay UK I worked for, actually, they were the first publication I worked for. And also the Gay Times were pretty big too. So I had quite a nice journalistic kind of exposure, which was quite fun. And then, as I say, so I was a journalist, and then I decided that, you know what, there has to be there's a way of being in this world and harnessing the power of press, like for the benefit of small businesses. And I thought there has to be a way, and I kind of started to do some research into PR and talking to PR people, and just realizing, especially having worked as a journalist and dealing with PR people, that like most PR companies are awful. They don't care. They're really expensive, and they just have zero interest in return on investment. It's just they don't really care. And I thought, God, if I could do this right, I could do pretty well from this. And so for the first year and a half of my business, it was just me. and I was sleeping on a sofa with a lovely staffy called Roxy, and eating beans on toast and getting the bus and all those kind of all that fun that goes with it. And obviously, having had a corporate background where I was really quite well looked after, especially with bonuses, it was quite a different lifestyle. But obviously, I was building something and I'm really excited about that. So the kind of people that we worked with, or we work with, so I worked with Joan Collins, which is always fun. She's exactly the way that you think she would be. She thought I was a waiter most of the time for some reason. Every time I met her, it was like it was a new thing for her. It was quite weird, like I was a new person, which is fine. I've worked with Laundry Heap, as a company that we've helped raise over £2.5 million via Seeders. I've worked with Urban Massage, who I don't know if anyone's London based, but they're pretty big in London and Paris, and now we're taking them to New York. They're a multi-million-pound company. Laundry Heap is valued at 17 million, and they're only 4 years old. So that's pretty nice. Strictly Come Dancing, I've done an awful lot of stuff with Strictly Come Dancing, though as much as I've done their PR, I've actually never watched a full episode because we work on clips. So that's my confession of today. And I also work for the House of Commons as well. Mainly, I work with the House of Commons on their PR scandals. Like, obviously it's not as big as, like, Brexit or something as exciting as that. I'm not this is not House of Cards on Netflix, but this is but I work with their crisis management when, for example, they have an MP who said something naughty and done something naughty or tweeted the wrong thing, and they kind of call on me to kind of fix that little problem for them. And that's always quite fun and entertaining, and hopefully so none of our clients seem to have that problem, so that's okay. So anyway, so kind of drawing us back to the plan for today. So fundamentally, I've kind of just thought, let's do a really basic kind of conversation. Let's have a conversation about this. I'm just on a really basic plan where we can just talk about, okay, so you've just started, or you're getting started, you just started and you want to know how to market yourself and how you can quickly get some cash in and kind of start doing some cool stuff, because there's a lot of messages out there. And or you're kind of doing stuff and you think, how can I take it to the next level? What am I doing wrong? What can I be doing more of? And obviously a lot of kind of coaches work solo, and there's only so much time you can do. You can dedicate to things, and equally there's only so much cash you can dedicate to things too. And where should you be spending your time, and what should you be spending your cash on? So just to kind of run through it briefly with you. We decided to kind of do 6 points, which we hope are quite useful. So the first one is kind of thinking about you and who are you and what are you and what makes you so special, especially in this really crowded marketplace. So that's quite important. And then kind of getting online. So, where are you? Where are people finding you? Are you on the platforms you should be on? Then we delve deeper into kind of social media, which is always can be quite a lot of fun for people, because everybody's a social media expert, it seems. And it's one of those things where it's a mixture of art and science. So are you on the right platforms? Are you saying the right thing? Are you doing advertising? How is it kind of working for you? The next thing we start talking about PR. So kind of making nice with journalists. Not everybody can afford a PR agency or wants a PR agency. I don't blame them. So how do you get those important link backs on your website, and how do you get PR? How does it all work for you? The next stage is then looking at making sure that your website is a traffic magnet, making sure that the traffic is on there. Because quite frankly, if you don't have any traffic on your website, you're not going to have any bloody sales. So that's really important. And next, once you've got the traffic, how do you turn users, which are lovely? I mean, everyone loves a nice user. How are you going to turn that actually into them becoming a customer, and kind of either like yesterday with Peter's talk, buying your course online, or just traditionally coming in and seeing you and paying you for the hour or the session. So that's the plan for today. So first things first, who are you? I mean, this is always genuinely one of the hardest struggles that we have working with clients, because most of the time people don't know who they are, or they haven't really done much work around it. I'm me tends to be quite a good answer. Or equally, you have people who are so fixated on what they want to sell, how they want to come across, rather than thinking about kind of what the market wants and what people want and what customers want. Before I start drilling down into this, it might be worth having and I can give you my experience kind of running my own business. So fundamentally, I didn't wake up one day on my sofa and say, gosh, I want to do sanity marketing and let's, affordable fees and monthly running contract and helping small businesses. That completely wasn't my mindset at all. My mindset was, bloody hell, I'm a journalist. I hear PR is quite lucrative. Let's give it a bosh and see what happens. And I kind of let sanity marketing be born based upon what I felt was successful. So, as I was selling to people, we started off by saying, hey, listen, it was me. Hey, listen, it's just me. I've never done this before. Let me do your PR for free for a month. And if you're happy, pay me. And if you're not happy, don't pay me. And we just kept developing that concept into kind of where we are today. And I just let the market decide that they wanted it. This year, for example, I literally started with nothing. My first sales was £61,500 in the first year. And it was just me by myself. And then our end of the year is August, and by August we're on track to do like £700,000 in sales, and that's all. That's no investment, that's no money from parents or anything like that. That's purely just off the back of sales and people coming to us and us just kind of growing and developing all these ideas. And just to go back slightly a few steps, everything that we do, all the marketing that we do for our clients, we do for ourselves. Newsletters, PR, blog posts, social media ads, we do it for ourselves. So not only can we say, hey, listen, we've worked with 70 people and we know it works, here's some great case studies, but actually we also do it for ourselves as well. And we know it works for us. We're in quite a lucky situation where we are now. So there we go, let's touch on a little part. So I feel like this is it's quite simple, it's quite basic. But fundamentally, it's so important to when you think about who you are and what you're offering and who your competitors are, it's really important that you kind of focus on what do people want versus kind of what do you want. And that's certainly what we recommend with people. So the first thing I'd say, so obviously the first point is kind of why do you want to do what you want to do? So it's really quite important you answer that question for yourself. There must be quite a good reason why you're doing it, and to kind of work out why you want to do it. Because especially when you're running a business, those things will keep you. That's kind of what you have to keep. That keeps you warm at night when things aren't going well, and you haven't got enough customers this month or whatever. It's those kind of, why do I want to do this? Why is it so important to me? So that's always an important one to do. And obviously sizing up the competition. So looking at who else is out there, and what are they doing, and what are they saying, and what's their niche. What's quite incredible to me. Is we've obviously got, like, as I say, a plethora of clients, and I've got kind of life coach clients who specialize in particular things, and as much as they probably are just as qualified as each other, they've kind of latched onto their own little niche, or what the Americans call niche, which I always find really confusing. Sounds like they're saying nits. I kind of think that so for example, I've got a guy called Kenny DeCruz, and he calls himself the Man Whisperer. And he basically specializes in men's issues, and a lot of his clients, the majority of his clients are men. But he could pretty much do what other life coach clients of ours can do. But he's decided, actually, I'm going to make myself different, and that's how I'm going to start. In the same way that we've done it for ourselves. We say, hey, listen, we're competing against PR agencies who, when I first started out, were much better than I was. And had a lot more experience and knew so much more than I did. I just had tenacity, hard work, and my little tin can of coppers. That's all I had in my sofa. But I kind of sat down and I thought, okay, well, PR companies are traditionally expensive. I'm going to be cheap. They're not particularly results driven. I'm going to tell people I'm results driven. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be results driven. They do 6-month contracts, 12-month contracts as standard. I'm going to do monthly running contracts and let people get out of them with a short notice period so that they're not locked in if I'm terrible, which I'm not. And so I started off, that's how I started. What are they doing? And I'm going to do the complete opposite. There's a really nice mantra that I read I'm doing this for you, by the way, Dawn, with my reference, that I read in a Virgin book once. It was a series of books that Virgin came out with, and I was a teenager and I read it. And the book title was, if it comes to being better or different wins every time. And actually, I really believe in that mantra, because people don't really care if you're better, don't even know you're better, but be different. Being different makes your life so much easier. And the more that you focus on, this slide is who you are, the more that you can size up your competition. And as the next point says, identify kind of what makes you unique, your unique selling point, what makes you special, what makes you unique. The more clear that is in your mind, the easier your journey is going to be. Because if you're going to be any old life coach like anybody else, and you can do this and this and this and this, that's great. But then you're going to have to spend so much money and time and effort in marketing that to make yourself look different and be different. Whereas to start from the very beginning and say, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to charge in a different way. I'm going to do different kind of sessions. I'm going to be found in different places. I'm going to focus on a particular thing that no other people seem to be neglecting. I think I could do something quite exciting with it. Like us, for example, we deal with small businesses. We want to work with people who have really tiny budgets. We want to work with coffee shops. We want to work with whoever we can. We don't want to work with Coca-Cola or ginormous brands, because actually you're a nightmare and all they want to do is sit around the table and chat. Whereas we want to do stuff and we want to really make a difference. And that's why we currently have 26 clients as of yesterday, 26 clients. And we want 100 clients by the end of the year. And that's really what our focus is on. So equally, kind of find a way to tell your story. People buy from people, not from brands or things. So, so really do. I find this really interesting, actually. I was approached recently by another life coach. This fabulous concept. I won't say what it is in case it reveals anything away. Really good concept, but actually the website has no details about him whatsoever. And I find that so bizarre, because as much as it's nice to have a logo and talk about we and us and have pictures of, and I know Dawn hates these photos, of men shaking hands at the table, like generic rubbish that you can get online. Actually, people don't buy from that nonsense. People buy from people, and people want to know the story behind it. So equally, find a way, work out what your story is. I'm sure you've all got really interesting stories, and put it online. Really work out what it is, put it online, and be very open about it, because people are really interested in learning, especially in the industry that you're in, where it's all based upon your personal experiences. And people really kind of buy into that. Equally, kind of keep changing. So many clients with us, the ones who do really well with us, for example, Caroline Rice, she has a weekly column in the Express, the Lady, Female First. She has about one article a day from us on average. She does pretty well. She's open to anything. She's always looking to change and develop. And I feel like she's a really good example of somebody who just kind of keeps it going, just tries different things and is quite unique with stuff. Whereas the clients who don't tend to do as well with us, and sometimes we say goodbye to them, are the ones who kind of behave in this way. And it's kind of, they don't want to let anything go. They're obsessed with their brand and all this sort of thing. And instead of kind of saying, hey, listen, let's be a bit flexible. Let's see what the market likes. Let's see what resonates with people. And we do everything. I mean, from press releases to social media posts to advertising, we work in that way, where with our clients, we try different things. We send out a lot of stuff and we say, okay, what resonates with people? Oh, wow, that posted really well. People like that. Let's put some money behind it as an ad and see if we can kind of generate some cash from that. Or this didn't do very well. People don't want to hear about that. Or that's not really, that's not really an interesting market. Let's disregard that. So always keep trying stuff and, and changing and doing cool stuff. To stand still, I think, is to die, quite frankly. And for our journey, for it to be me by myself, to having 12 of us and having an office here, an office in New York, and 26 clients, and being Sanity Marketing, which was just, oh gosh, I mean, if you would have said to me, I'd be running this, but even in banking, if you would have said to me, I'll be running a PR agency or a digital marketing agency, I would have said, gosh, what are you talking about? I aspire to be, keep being a senior manager. But we just kind of try, just try things and keep things going. And I think that really makes life so much easier. Be open to loads of different ideas, and don't be so rigid, because the problem is you'll end up not doing anything at all, standing still, and just not doing very well at all. And that's my experience working with some people. So the next thing is kind of getting online. So obviously now you kind of, let's assume that you either have started and you've now thought about slide one, or equally, you kind of now you've got some kind of bits to walk away from, and you've got some idea of what the story you want to tell, and kind of what makes you special, how you're going to price yourself, what you're going to say to people, what your niche is. Now the next thing obviously is to get online and/or have a little look at your online presence, and just remember, online is so important. I mean, people Google nowadays, people look at your social media nowadays. It's really important to people. I've got an office of girls who say to me, we won't go to a restaurant unless we look at their reviews first and their Instagram. And you think, God, what's a couple of photos got to do with whether or not a restaurant's nice? But unfortunately, that's the world. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what you want to look at it, that's the world that we live in. And actually, to not have those bases covered, it could be quite detrimental to you, actually. So when I say kind of cover your bases, I'm really talking about kind of the basic platforms that you need to be on. So let's start talking about Facebook. It's really mainly mainly social media. So it's really important that you're where you need to be and that you're saying the right thing consistently. It's really important that if you've decided that, and we go into more details in the next one, Get Social. If you decided that you need to have an Instagram, you need to have a YouTube, you need to have a Facebook, you need to have a Twitter. It's really important that all of the descriptions say the same thing. It's important that all of the website links are to the same website. It's really important that that the photos are consistent with what you want to be. And so that's quite important. Make sure you've got all those things. And as I said, we're going into a bit more detail later on about how to weigh up which platform you should be on. Because there's so many platforms. There's there's 7-ish key ones, and then there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other ones that you could be on. Equally kind of find backlinks that work for you. So we go into more detail about this again. A lot of this is kind of obviously quite a lot of crossover. So backlinks are basically links that are in the around the internet in different pages, and what they do is they are then directed to your website. It's called a backlink, and the concept is twofold. First of all, it'll improve your traffic, because if people obviously find that website and then they click onto your link, that's really nice, and they come onto your website and hopefully they'll do something or they'll buy something or whatever. And second of all, it's good for SEO, because the more backlinks you've got, what happens is I always Google. When I say Google, I mean search engines, but of which Google really is the king. So Google then looks at that and says, oh, this website, lifecoach.com or whatever. I'm sure that's owned and very expensive. They've got 10, 5, 100, a million backlinks to websites that we really like. The Mail Online, the Evening Standard, directories with really good traffic, things that we like. We can talk about in a minute what that's called on-site SEO. I can talk about that a little bit later on, the difference between on-site and off-site. But fundamentally, the more backlinks you've got, the more traffic you get directly, and then also the more, or as a referral it's called, and also the more traffic you get due to organic search, and it's all to do with SEO. And I say we'll talk about that in a minute. It's difficult to know where to start with these things because they're all so intertwined. So bear with me if you don't understand, and we can do some questions at the end. Google My Business. Oh, it's so beautiful. Google My Business is incredible. So Google My Business is when you Google, if you like restaurants, for example, restaurants in London, or say if you Google me, and you can, if you like, it'll come up in the box, a special little box, and it says, Sanity Marketing. It's got my reviews in there, and it's got some photos and whatever. So there's some really cool things you should do. First of all, it's free, so bloody do it. And it's really easy to do. You just got to verify your address or your phone number. If you are kind of at home and you think, I don't really want people to have my home address, you can always hide it, which is quite nice. But then obviously that removes you from the map, which is a pity. So it might be worth having a registered office address and just using that one. That's what I'd suggest to our clients who are kind of online and that sort of thing. Equally, the phone number, if you don't feel comfortable, there's lots of things you can do. For example, there are companies like for example, Receiver, where for £18 a month, they'll have just a generic phone number and you can choose it. And then when people call that number, they just refer it to you or drop you an email, whatever you like, and you can put that number up. And that way that helps verify you. Google My Business is incredibly powerful. I had a restaurant client recently, and they had a restaurant in South Kensington and they had a restaurant in Soho. The one in South Kensington was older and was doing really, really well. The one in Soho was just doing incredibly poorly. They were doing about £10,000 a week in sales, which is tiny for a restaurant in Soho. When their rent is about their operation costs were about £40,000 a week. We managed to change their fortunes really, really quickly, purely by setting up their Google My Business, which hadn't been set up properly. And instead of them getting 300 or whatever it was inquiries a week on their searches via Google My Business, it became 33,000, and you can imagine what that did for their business. So it's really, really important when people are typing things in like life coaches, mentors, coaching academies, or kind of whatever you guys are. It's important that you give yourself the best opportunity to come up at the top. You can also do things, for example, like we do for Dawn, where we do posting actually on Google My Business, which also makes Google your business. It makes Google like you more, which means you've got more chance of coming at the top when people are Googling you too. So we do these little tricks. As I say, I could talk about these things all day long. I've got loads of little talks that I prepared just in general. So you can talk about things specifically maybe another time, or just give me a call, whatever, we'll sort it out. Next is kind of listing yourself on directories. So for example, there's tons and tons of directories for life coaches and kind of training courses and that sort of thing. I'm currently doing it with Dawn, where we're reaching out to people and saying, hey, listen, we'd love to be part of you here, but you've got a directory. You can see our directory. We'd love to be added to your directory. And what that does, and it's number 2, it's all about backlinks for you. That's quite nice. And then last but not least, certainly not least, and we talk about this again in a bit more details in a few more slides, make your website fit for Google. So what that means is fundamentally on-site SEO. So on-site SEO is basically things that you can do to your website to make Google like you better. For example, and I only saw bits of pieces yesterday, so I apologise if this has been covered already. But for example, if you having your phone number and your address at the top of the page makes a difference. Having a security certificate, aka telling Google that you're not a spam website or something dodgy like that, that helps. And the whole point of SEO is that people Google you, life coach, your name, whatever, and that you come up to the top. I mean, it's an industry all of its own, and you could pay thousands and thousands, you could pay hundreds of thousands of pounds to people who do all sorts of interesting things that are well above my pay grade. But it's quite a slow process. It's an expensive process, but actually there's tons of things that you can do for yourself without spending all the cash. There's little simple things, as I've just mentioned, and we can go into a few more details later on about it too. Because obviously the name of the game doesn't matter what your social media looks like or if you've got press. Actually, if people are Googling, I don't know, life coach Brighton, for example, and you're number 1, you're going to be rich. Doesn't make any difference. So that's the name of the game. I can see you smiling there, so that's nice. Share it with me if you're rich. So the next slide is get social. I like social media. No, I don't. I don't like social media, really. It's okay. I don't use my own social media, actually. People say to me, are you dead? Maybe. As Joshua Walker certainly is. So when it comes to social media, I find that a lot of people, a lot of clients in particular, are very particular about what goes out. And my belief is this. Putting posts online does not make a massive difference to your business in 2018. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all rely on advertising, billions and billions and billions of pounds a year in advertising. And you can't really get a lot of followers or a lot of engagement, and what you really want, a lot of website clicks, so clicks coming onto your website for people who hopefully are going to buy something without advertising. The posts are, I always suggest to clients, look, we'll post stuff out, it's all very lovely, you look good, you sound good, the photos are good, we're saying what you want to say, but it ain't going to transform your business. My dream is when clients do their own posting, quite frankly, because it's what I like to do, things that really add a lot of value, and it's just one of those things, it's one of those bases you just have to cover. So for example, Caroline White has her own social media, and I'm grateful for it. So first of all, online advertising, it's so incredibly important. You can't do anything without social media advertising. Once again, it's an industry. So what we do currently as an agency, as part of we have a sexy package, basic, sexy and steamy. I'll tell you about those later. And so we do, as part of a sexy package, what we do is we do advertising for you. And what it is, we tend to do, there's different ways you can do it, but how we find it's quite successful for sales is, first of all, we do an awareness campaign. It sounds really posh, but it's not really. So what we'll do an ad on Facebook, because obviously Facebook is king. We do Facebook ad, and we'll do, say, 80 quid for a client, and we'll put a blog on their website that we think people will like, or a video if we're really posh, we have a video with them. And what we do is that, for example, we can do something like for Dawn's, for example, we have 5 ways to motivate yourself. And so what happens is people then see that online and they say, oh, this is interesting. And they click on it and they go onto the blog and they quite like it. It looks nice. So now people then know about Dawn, for example. In fact, Dawn's a bad example because I'd rather do customer facing. So let's change the subject. Let's say it's for, let's use Carol Ann as an example. I hope she doesn't mind. So Carol Ann. So the ads that we do for Carol Ann, no try and remember what it is. It's something quite cool. I don't remember. Say it's something like, we're going into the new year. 5 signs you're in the wrong job, or five signs it's time for a career change. So people will see that and say, oh, this is really, they click onto a website. So now I've got on the website, that's a tip for SEO. Yes, we're getting some traffic. And they look at it and it's great. The next ad that we do is called Facebook remarketing. So where people have gone onto Carol Ann's Facebook, aka they now know about her, we will then they'll do another ad that'll pop up at some point on Facebook to Carol Ann saying, or to somebody who's already looked at the Facebook page and say, oh, have you thought about this, or do a special offer, or do a video. We're just capturing them. Once again, we want to get them onto the website. That's remarketing. It costs pennies. Remarketing is beautiful, but it takes a bit of time to set up. New tracking and pixels, we can talk about that in a minute. Number 3 we do is website remarketing. So what we're doing really is people have gone on the website, you might experience it before, you've gone on Amazon, you're thinking of buying something, a laptop, you get distracted, your husband calls you up, whatever, and then you're doing something else the next day and suddenly it comes up in the corner, your little laptop you were looking at, and you think, oh, actually, I might buy that now. And that's happened to me plenty of times, especially for like event tickets and that sort of thing. You think, oh, I will buy that. Contact lenses is one in particular that they always get me on, buying my contact lenses. And so then you click on it, go through the website, you buy. So that's a funnel. It's called sales funneling. So that's what we do. We're doing this nice sales funnel. And as I say, it can be as advanced or as simple as you want to do it. And obviously the name of the game is, Carol Ann then sits down with us, for example, and says, oh, for every 20 quid that I spend, I'm getting 4 new customers. And you say, oh, that's lovely. And she'll say, right, I'll give you 500 quid. Let's see if we can keep that conversion rate going. And obviously before you know it, there's companies, for example, a company who I stole my recent employee from, who helps us with this advertising. They were doing 100,000 in Facebook ads a month, a lot of money. But they're making 1.1 million from that spend, and obviously that's a gorgeous position to be in. And obviously, but that takes time. You've got to kind of say, okay, well, I'm spending 100 quid. There's a lot of kind of testing going involved. But once you've got the formula, you just keep putting more money in, keep maintaining that conversion rate, and you're literally kind of got cash in the bank. So advertising is so important, and so we've got a new service called Steamy, which does a lot of that stuff for clients, and it's particularly good for kind of life coaches or hotels or restaurants, places where you can see people are booking online or they're spending money online. We've got a beauty brand that works with us doing that too. So let's now kind of go on to basic stuff then. So showing photos on Instagram. So if you decide that actually Instagram is the way you want to go, relatively probably not particularly useful for your industry, but say that you want to be seen as going out to events and that sort of thing, Instagram's obviously the way to go when it comes to photos. I don't think that it would be particularly interesting. I personally wouldn't recommend it in your industry unless you particularly are interested in doing it. But there we are. Facebook, as I said before, is really king for you. Your customers are on Facebook, everyone's on Facebook, and the advertising mechanism is incredible. So, I mean, Facebook's always a must. Twitter, I find kind of Twitter interesting. I would use it for chatting to journalists. I would use it to having conversations with people, perhaps people in your industry. Will you get a lot of business from it? Probably not. It's one of those things where I would just keep doing some posting, and you can use things like Hootsuite where you're just scheduling out the posting. That's probably what I would do. And finally, kind of mastering new platforms. So kind of what's, you might find that people are using other things. It might be quite interesting for you to look at. And just always be open-minded to new things. Because you have things that come in. At one point, everyone said Twitter was going in favor of Snapchat. Now Snapchat's going down. Try different things, see what works for you. But if someone were to say to me in your sphere, what should I be doing? I'd be saying, do Facebook. The other thing I really would like to say, actually, and to say this is only really kind of basic stuff, so I'm going to try and delve in where I can, where I think I can add some value to you. One thing I would definitely say is don't get bogged down by engagement or followers, because actually it's not particularly useful. So you can do, for example, posts, boosted posts on Facebook. Don't do it. It's such a waste of money. You could do a post and you can have 2,000 people liking it, and I guarantee not one sale. It's a complete waste of time. The kind of advertising you want to be doing is getting clicks onto your website. And also, as I said before, it's not a standalone exercise. It's not a case of let's just do one ad and hope for the best. That's not enough. You have to raise awareness. And then you've got to offer them a series of things in different, according to kind of the pipeline of where they're coming from. As I said, it's going to be as sophisticated as you want it to be, or is it easy? When we started doing this sort of thing, we did quite a basic kind of method where we just say, look, we'll promote blog posts on people's website we think are interesting, and we'll get them for 6p a click, and we'll get £80 a month from our clients for doing it. And that's about 1,200 clicks onto the website, which obviously is really nice. But now, as we start doing that with clients, we're starting to really boost up their web traffic, and that does help sales. But what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, that's nice. What else can we be doing to turn this traffic into cash? How can we improve the conversion rate? What else can we be doing? What ads can we be doing to be encouraging sales? And that's now where we are as an agency. And something that I think people just don't understand at all. There's so many social media companies doing these boosted posts and kind of competitions and stuff. And honestly, engagement makes no difference at all. I mean, for example, for Instagram, I could get you 500 Instagram followers who are actually potential customers who are interesting for you in a day. It's not difficult to do. But that kind of following is just people follow each other all day long. And equally, people like things and retweet things and share things all day long. It's not going to make a tremendous difference to your business, and it's just not a focus. I wouldn't bother. So there we are. Next one is my favourite thing. So as being an ex-journalist, do be nice to me. So make it nicer to journalists. So fundamentally, when it comes to PR is really, really powerful, as you can imagine. It does a series of things. It boosts your awareness, which is the stage one of getting someone to buy from you. It shows off your current clients that you're pretty bloody cool. It shows off to industry. It also, most importantly, gets you backlinks. So, for example, if you do an article on the Mail Online, for example, Caroline gets more time. I think of one. 5 ways to have a stressless Christmas was one that we did for the Sun the other day for Caroline, Sun Online. That then does a link to our website. So once again, Google likes you and traffic will be coming from that link. So that's also nice for you too. So I like PR. PR is pretty bloody powerful and so poorly done. People always say to me, do I need a PR agency? Not really, especially for kind of niche markets. For example, all you guys need to do, and we can talk about it in a minute, is make friends with lifestyle journalists and lifestyle editors, and they're easy to find. And you can buy lists and you can do all sorts of things. So they ask me, I'll give you a list, and it's not hard to do, and build a relationship with them. Now, the one thing that people do wrong, and I know I'm not strictly doing the points, I apologise. The one thing that people do really wrong is this. They are so pedantic about what's being sent out, and it is so delayed that what happens is you don't end up sending out anything at all. And that people kind of have this they just get it wrong insofar as the journalists don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anybody. Put you into a mindset of a 2018 journalist, mainly online. What happens is every morning they have a meeting with their editor and they go through as a team meeting and they talk about what's hot and what's not. What's being Googled, what's being Googled today? Oh, Meghan Markle's being Googled. I don't know. This new app is being Googled, whatever it is. Katie Price is in trouble again, whatever it is. Okay, great. And the journalist and the editor says, write stories about those. It's all about clickbait. Don't forget, these online magazines, these online publications rely on advertising. They need web traffic on their websites. That's how they make their money. So equally, they want to have clickbait. They want to have content all the time. And the way that we do it as an agency is we send them content all the time. We send out on average 50 press releases a week. And they're all pretty much on the same kind of level. So it's like 5 signs, 5 tips, 5 reasons. We send that out for various reasons. The first reason is that smaller publications will just post it, which is quite nice, which is good for backlinks, for example. So that's nice. It shows journalists, instead of knocking on doors all the time and saying, please write about Dawn, please write about Dawn, we say, this is what Dawn has to say. Here it is, it's another thing. And they say, oh, this is quite nice. Actually, I'm writing about this. Can Dawn do a comment or piece on this, for example? Can Dawn give us a comment on this? And that kind of is quite nice, rather than kind of just begging all the time, knocking on the door. Equally, it helps with just relationship building, just in general, kind of making people aware of what's going on. And fourthly, which is beautiful, but doesn't always happen, is that people are saying, oh my God, I'm actually writing about this, or I'm thinking about writing this. Great. Could you elaborate on these points, or can you do this? Or actually, can I just take your points? And you say, yes, please. And then what we do, which is obviously not to do PR, but what we tend to do is we then give that, after it's published, we then give the client the blog. We then give them the document, and then they put it on their website for blog. And obviously, as you know, then that helps with on-site SEO, because you've got more content. The more content you've got, the more Google like you, and the more regular content you're posting, the more Google like you. So there we are. So that's giving a little kind of background in PR. I've got a whole presentation about PR and news stories, and it's and it's also like one slide that says it's Britney bitch, because I want to work with Britney Spears. I did some bits with her, but that's another time. I think that's for another time. There's a lot of dancing and all sorts of things. So let's go along here. So now you're in the sphere where you say, okay, I get it. I'm going to be writing loads of stuff. I'm going to be writing things all day long. Send out 2 press releases a week. Let's do it. So let's work out how to be nice for journalists. So first of all, do your research. Who should you be talking to? And get a bloody long list. If you email one journalist every day, they're probably not going to write. If I get a list of 500 lifestyle journalists, make friendly with your local publications, people who write about what you want to be written about you. And number 2, feeds into the whole content situation. Offer interesting content. Don't get too bogged down by you and your brand. Don't get too bogged down on it, because it's not an ad. Otherwise, you can just do an ad. What you should do is you should be doing, as I say, sending out regular interesting things that they're going to want. And then you kind of slide your message through the back door. That's how I've been trying to work out in a talk how I can do it, where I can encourage people to, the audience, to take something from me that they want. And then I've slid something in that I wanted. I was thinking of giving them all cups or something, and then as they turned them up, there was like this, my logo on the bottom or something fun like that. I'm still working that idea. Maybe you can help me out afterwards. But fundamentally, you just keep giving them content, and don't get too bogged down about it. As long as it's true to as long as it's coming from you and it's what you believe. It doesn't have to strictly be specifically about your business or what's your core business. For example, I've got a client called Kenny, as I've mentioned. I had a meeting with him earlier, and he does some pickups, kind of artist stuff. He's the men's one I was saying about. But he really wants to talk about he wants serious problems, male suicide, that sort of thing. And it's like, that's a tough thing to sell. And of course we send those things out for him. But I said, look, let's try and keep a lot of it light and fluffy, because we can still get your piece in where it says, Kenny de Cruz gives you 5 tips for, I don't know, for flirting in 2018 with regards to the Me Too movement, how to do it in a sensitive way, which people are quite interested in. Especially me, but we can do that sort of thing. But then we can say, well, actually, and Kenny, and here's his website, and he specialises in things including, suicide prevention, that sort of thing. So we're getting the message in, but we have to give the journalist a carrot first. We can't just knock on the door and say, oh, you write about Kenny de Cruz. They know why I want them to write about Kenny de Cruz. They understand the power of PR. They work in it. It's our job to make sure that we're giving them things that they want. And so the hardest thing I can honestly say when it comes to dealing with clients is removing them. And that's why I started with slide 1, who are you? Removing yourself from kind of what you are and what you want to be, and be a little bit more open-minded as to what do people want, and how can I slot into that, and how can I take advantage of that, and what can I offer that person who wants this? Equally, so number 3, don't hassle them beyond what's reasonable. Obviously, if someone says, look, I'll get back to you, that's fine, chase them up the next week, but don't message them every single day. They've got loads of people messaging them, and they're just going to block you and just never talk to you again. You don't want that. But equally, do be persistent, and people will be appreciative of it. They are incredibly busy. They're getting thousands of emails a day, I promise you. Be as clear as you can. Make it really obvious what you want. So when you send them an email, a little press release, make it really obvious. That's a whole talk on its own. Make it really obvious as to what you want to be saying to them, and what you want from them. So 5 sign. Here's something I thought you might like. 5 reasons that, I don't know, 2019 is going to be incredible, or whatever it is. I'd make it up. That's also a terrible idea, actually. But whatever it is, and you can do that as an email. And send that out, and take, here it is, here's a piece of content, I thought you'd like it for your publication, there we are, let me know if you'd like anything else from me. I also do reviews, I also do this, let me know. Be really clear. The number of times that I used to get sent as a journalist press releases, and I say, I don't understand what it is. Are they inviting me to a party, and they invited me to a review? Do they want me to publish it, or do what they want? And the minute they've got to think, they delete, they forget about you. So make it really easy, make it life easy for yourself. when we do things, for example, like, with life coaches, and we offer celebrities or a journalist to review, we always put it at the top where we say, opportunity review opportunity. We make it really easy for them so they know exactly what we want from them. And equally, listen to their feedback. I honestly believe that journalists are incredibly close to kind of doing as close to your customers' feedback as you can get. If they don't want something, it tends to be because their readers won't want it, and their readers are potentially your customers. So I mean, do bear that in mind. They're pretty cool. I mean, sometimes journalists say these silly things, but just ignore them. But do keep an open mind, listen, and kind of, if you keep hearing the same bit of feedback, you might want to change that. One thing I'd really like to talk about, if I have the time, is that when it comes to PR, people get very bogged down with publications. Don't. I've got really posh, rich clients, and they say, "Oh, I only want to be in Tatler. I only want to be in Vogue." Vogue and Tatler have very, very small readerships, and the majority of their readerships are actually their aspirational readerships. They are people who aren't rich reading magazines that make them aspire to wanting to be rich, or aspire to be rich. That makes more sense. They aren't rich, they just aren't. In fact, the average Cosmo reader is wealthier than the average Vogue reader. So there's a little tip for you. So what I always say to clients is this: send loads of press releases out, loads of interesting stuff, and take what you bloody can get. I mean, if you're incredibly posh and you only want to be in Tatler or Vogue, and you don't want people to know that you're in the Daily Star or whatever, just bear in mind that people who are reading, or in your head, who are reading those posh magazines, or the Times, for example, they're not reading the Daily Star anyway. They're not even going to know you're in it. Just take what you can, take every opportunity you can. And the publications that have the biggest readerships online are the ones that are going to do you the best benefit for all of the above mentioned reasons. The awareness, the SEO ability. I mean, don't forget, the Mail Online is going to be liked far more by Google at 250 million readers a month than Vogue Online will. Take my word for it. And equally, there's going to be if millions of people are reading your article online, even if a very, 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 very tiny percentage of people on there are your kind of customer, that's still a much larger number of people than 30% of Vogue readers when the readership is so tiny. So just bear that in mind. It's a numbers game at this point, and that's why we've married this whole digital marketing and PR together. So the next one, making sure your website is a traffic magnet. So as I said before, so this is what you call on-site SEO. So on-site SEO basically is all about making sure that your website, you're ticking all the boxes. They Google look at your website and they say, we like it. Now, to give you an insight, on-site SEO, so making sure your website is good and that Google like you, is 20% of what SEO is. So it's 20% the benefit. So even if your website is the bee's knees and you've paid some guy to go into, and sort out all your descriptions and all the metadata and all this kind of posh IT stuff that I only know a little bit about, at best it's 20% of the benefit for you. The 80% is what we call off-site SEO. And off-site SEO is backlinks. So that's things like the press, social media links that then come back to your website. That's off-site SEO. So that's far more powerful. So that's why when I say we're a digital marketing agency who are really shit hard at PR, and that's the toolbox that we really like to play in. That is. That makes sense. Sandbox, and you get my point. But fundamentally, that's PR is so incredibly powerful for you. So let's chat a little bit about it. So develop a strategy of your own. So understand what you want to be saying on your website, what you want people to be doing on your website, and that sort of thing. What's quite important, and this is once again quite a sophisticated thing that I've only recently learned about actually. For example, if you're doing Google Ads, which I don't recommend because they're bloody expensive and you really need to be quite an expert at doing them. We do them and we do pretty well, but it's a lot of work, I tell you, and it's not step one of doing marketing for yourself. It really isn't. For example, if you have a Google ad, if you direct it to a page that then talks about what that ad is about, that would be a much higher quality ad, which means that you'll pay much less for it per click. For example, I learned that lesson by doing our own one. On susantimarketing.com, -.com. So we do I did an ad and said, restaurant marketing, hotel PR, all this stuff. And I thought, yeah, that's good. But then it came back saying it was a low quality page for that. And I thought, why? And then it dawned on me, I didn't really say a lot about hotels or restaurants on those pages. So now I've created new pages that talk purely about restaurants and what we do for restaurants, and bars, what we do for bars, and hotels, what we do for hotels. And that makes a massive difference to us. So having that strategy and understanding kind of what you can do, and also within a budget, there are things that you can, when you get a website, you get a website guy, and I know Website Guy does it for £200 a month for 10 months, and it's yours. I think less, actually, £180 a month, I think it is. And he does, and you kind of say, look, can I just clarify that I've got the certificate? I want to make sure that's in the fold, and that sort of thing. And just make sure that, as much, it's like anything, isn't it, running a business, you have to kind of know a little bit about everything in order to make sure that you're hiring the right people and that things are going well. So next, kind of write for people, not for search engines. I always hate this so much. People are so obsessive with keywords, they really are. And what you end up having is a blog, like a load of blog posts that nobody wants to read because it's all written for robots and coding. It's just silly. So, write for people, write what you want to write about, and also reuse your press releases. If you're going to do the content and you're going to write that content, bloody hell, use it again. Don't put it in, don't just leave it for a rainy day. Bloody use it. That'll really help you out. But write for people, and always address it to the people as if it's for them. 5 signs that will help you do this, or that sort of thing works so much nicer. And also, you can make sure that there are keywords in there without it sounding like you're writing it for a robot. But don't get too hung up on it. If you're putting 2 a week on there because that's what the number of press releases you're writing, for example, and press releases equally, that's another topic that we could cover, couldn't we? Talk about how to write a press release. Very easy, I promise. If I can do it, anyone can. We'll talk about that perhaps at another time if Dawn allows me to. And then equally, don't get obsessive rankings. People say, oh, you're ranking 4, you're ranking 10, you're ranking 6. Don't worry too much about that. It's going to be really unusual for you to be number 1 for kind of life coaching, whatever. It's not easy to do. Just be satisfied with kind of where you are, and just work. As long as you're going up in the right direction, don't get too caught up in it. I don't know about you guys, but I constantly get emails from people, mainly in kind of India and that sort of thing, and they come up and they say, oh, I can do an SEO audit for you. I can make you number 1 on Google. They can't. It's rubbish. So don't worry about that. Just keep building up towards something. Tick all the boxes, and over time you'll see that momentum. Because it doesn't matter what ranking you are. What matters is the people who are coming into your. What matters is that you've got people coming into your onto your website and doing things, and they're showing an interest. So that's quite nice. And something's flashed up. I don't know what that is. Oh, is that a chat? Am I supposed to read that?
No, that's fine. It's just Jenny saying thanks very much. She has to go for a meeting. She'll listen to the rest later, but it was all great.
So kind. Thank you, Jenny, if you're still online. So equally, so hire the right people. My belief is this: don't hire anyone. Actually, I'm against it. But if you're going to hire someone you trust, and hire someone who's low cost, and hire someone who doesn't say anything that I don't talk about. Because I hear all the time a number of people tell me they're experts. I've actually written a blog post on my website. I think it's 5 signs that your SEO expert is a con artist or a fool, and do read that. I think it's quite interesting. It's alongside my blog post, which is 5 reasons you shouldn't hire a PR agency. So there we are. Equally, value the right kind of traffic. I hate this so much. I have clients, and they say, my cousin is doing my PPC, my pay-per-click. And I've said, oh, how much is that costing you? And they say, 200 quid. And I go on it and I say, hang on, but you're spending 200 quid, and like 99% of these people are bouncing off. What that means is they're only looking at 1 page. I said, that's no good. I said, how many bookings have you had from it? Oh, none. Well, that's the point. It's the wrong kind of traffic. Equally, you can get all sorts of magical bots and spammers and all sorts of things. But that's not the right kind of traffic. Once you've got traffic on your website, what you can do is you can go on to it's Google Analytics, and equally we talk about that on the next slide, I believe. And what we do, you look at what their behaviour is. Let me give you an example, if I may, Dawn. So our name of the game is to get lots of people coming to Dawn's website, and obviously the key pages that we want to keep improving on are things like people who are looking for accredited courses, who are looking for accredited coaches, that sort of thing, and equally people who are looking to be accredited. They're the key pages we want. If I say to Dawn, I have 1 million people on your website this month, but they all went on to, About Us, or they went on to ask for a job, a career page or whatever, that's no bloody good to anybody. What a waste of time. We want to make sure it's the right kind of traffic, and that's really important. The next one, I've pressed the wrong button, I think. There we go. The next one is spinning website traffic into gold. So let's pretend, for example, that you've suddenly, at the moment, you started off with 20 people a day on your website, and now there's 100 people a day on your website, or 200, 400, 500. That's really lovely. Now, how can we turn that into cash? It's always the struggle I have with clients. They always say to me, oh, the web traffic has gone up, but I'm not really seeing the sales. And I would say, give it a couple of weeks, you'll see it. It's not always instantaneous. And that's when we start doing these other ad remarketing, all these sexy things I was telling you about. We've got to get the volume at that point first. So understand and use the sales funneling. And this becomes quite sophisticated. It can be, but you can start off quite simply. So the name of the game is, okay, I've got people coming to the website. What are they looking at? What are they doing? At what point do I want to tell them something? Or do I want to ask them to do something? Or do I want to capture their data? The best thing you can do really is to kind of get them to sign up to a newsletter, because then you can kind of regularly sell to them via a newsletter in a very secret way. Equally, that could be another talk that we do. I should write these down. And then it's also kind of sales funneling. So, for example, and you can be honestly, you could spend $100,000 a year on this sort of thing, and it can be gorgeous. But fundamentally, you could do things, for example, where people are clicking on particular pages, and when you've got their email address, you can email them, knowing they've gone on a particular page that they're interested in something. For example, let me give you a really good example. Let's pretend that that we've got all this set up with Dawn that's all really sexy, and then I go on to the looking for an accredited course, for example. And I've already given my details because I got an ebook from Dawn a couple of weeks ago via the website. Obviously, it's all automated, don't forget. It wasn't literally with Dawn. And fundamentally, what would happen is we could then work it out, whereas we then send them an email a little while later saying, oh, hey, here's a list of some of our accredited courses. Here they are, and here's the web links. And this is like a nice follow-up where then hopefully they follow on, and then the people who are accredited then see that actually these guys are giving some really nice traffic from their website, and it's really, it's something that's incredibly worth doing. That, it feeds a lot into, for example, if you're on Amazon.com and you're looking at a laptop, I used that example before, where they then email me and say, oh, here's a laptop, it's in your cart, for example. Do you want to? Is now a good time to buy? Here, buy it. Click here, buy now. And even if 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 people buy it, that ain't bad. It's all automated, and that's quite fun. But as I say, you can start off quite basic to begin with. It's quite easy to do. It could just be a case of just driving them to the right pages, just by being clever about, click here if you want to learn more about this, and then sign up to our newsletter. Here it is. So it'd be quite basic, and then you can develop as you start making more money for things and things start working. Doing a little bit more of this and finding out what works, you can start putting some more money into it and trying different things out. And that's why I always say, try things. Be up for changing and working in a cool way. Don't be so rigid with everything. Let's be open to stuff. It makes life so much easier. Use Google Analytics. So actually, should have been number 1. I made a mistake here. Use Google Analytics. It's so incredibly important. What you should be doing, Google Analytics tells you everything. Where the traffic's coming from, what they're doing on your website, and there's even really sophisticated things you can do with Google Analytics. Once again, that could be another talk where we're doing where you can look at people's screens as they're doing it. You can follow their journey. It's really interesting to kind of work out, does your website work? Is it helping and driving sales, or is it kind of hindering? Are there blockades somewhere? What's going on? Next, kind of know your conversions. Equally, that kind of feeds really nicely into Google Analytics. Understand, how many people are clicking onto a particular page before they convert. And a conversion could be anything. A conversion could be anything from handing over hard-earned cash to clicking on a particular button. So, for example, on my website, I've got a conversion rate for people who click onto who click onto the form on my contact us on a page. So it doesn't matter what it is, but it's all about looking at the type of traffic that's coming to your website, what it's doing, and how to best turn that into sales. Build newsletter lists. Equally, that kind of feeds into what we were saying earlier. Newsletters are the easiest way of selling stuff to people and to get them to come back on your website. So really, the number of clients I have ever worked with, and they don't have newsletters, and it's such a mistake. They haven't done it for ages. Caroline sends out a weekly newsletter. It has about 4,000 people on it. And that's what you really want to be doing. Because not only are you kind of, positioning yourself as being an authority on things, and you're reminding people about you, but actually you're doing calls. You can put calls to action on there where you're encouraging people to, book a course from you, or or come in for a session, or do a call, or whatever it is. And the last but not least is kind of don't blame your users. Just bear in mind actually that it's a bit like the suck it and see situation. If things are down, things are up, things are around the corner, just bear in mind that it's up to you to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Don't be upset if you've suddenly driven those people to your website via an online article and no one's bothered to click on anything else and the bounce rate's really high. just work out what could you be doing better. Maybe you should put a little pop-up at that point. Maybe you should encourage people to come to the newsletter at some point. And it's quite a fun game. And it's one of those things where you should be looking at regularly and kind of just working out what to do. And there's so much you can do with regards to that. So there we are. There concludes my little chat. As I say, it's frustrating for me because I feel like there's so much that I can talk about into quite a lot of detail, and I'm sure one day we will. But in the interim, here we are. So I don't. Can we do questions? I didn't ask you. Does that work?
That's absolutely fine, Jordan. Thank you. I mean, you're absolutely right. This is, like you say, it's a digital science, and it's mysterious to a lot of us. So I think what I'll probably ask you to do is a lot of 3 to 10 minute videos on each of those subjects. Give me what you've got, and the ones that you haven't, we'll do some recordings. So things like Google Analytics, for instance, or backlinks or whatever, and we'll just put them out on the Business of Coaching Education CPD program with a call to action at the end. If you're stuck or if you want a template, come to Sanity Marketing and we can help you. So I'm sure we can get more of your message out there. But that was fantastic. I mean, we've been working with you for 2 or 3 months. We've been meeting every Friday, and I still learnt a huge amount. So I will be grilling you at tomorrow's meeting, saying, have we done this, and how do we do that, and shall we switch this a little bit? And probably David is thinking much the same thing. So because we're going to talk to you tomorrow, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to open up to the floor to say who's got questions, because I'm very conscious of people's time. We normally have an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes for these calls. So please, anybody has got questions, pick Jordan's brains now while you've got his undivided attention. And I'll ask my questions tomorrow.
Great.
Jordan, it's Ian.
Hello, Ian. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Couple of parochial questions, basically. I run Noble Manhattan, United Kingdom.
Yeah.
I need to get out there and tell everybody that we do actually still exist. I see a smile on your face.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Would you be able to do that?
Well, I mean, what's the question? Can I do your marketing?
It's a question of getting the name renowned out in UK.
So what is it that you do?
I run Noble Manhattan Coach Training, UK.
Manhattan Coach. So what do you specialise in?
I provide life coach training courses for life and business coach training courses, basically.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, we've worked with probably an easier thing. If you just drop me an email, maybe we can chat about it and have a call at some point.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think you just did a social media blog for Gerard, who's the founder and virtual CEO for them this week, or it's on next week's schedule. I can't remember. But they're one of our accredited training providers. So very much, Ian, like we said to Joshua or Jordan when we first met, we're kind of the best kept secret in the industry. It's a similar sort of challenge, and I'm sure the answer is yes, he'll be able to help you. So I'll hook you two up afterwards via an email, and then you can fly with that.
Great, thank you, Dawn.
What else, Ian? I think you said there were a couple of things.
Yeah. There's a couple of rhetorical questions here, really. I'm trying to attract 2 types of people at the moment. One is teachers, and one is people who might or might not go to university. Quick yes, no answer. Could you tackle either of those, or both of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, there are 2 ways of doing it fundamentally. You can, I really like talking to everybody, because I think sometimes it's easier to talk to everybody than it is to talk to specific people. So I like to keep content quite, have mass appeal. I think it's always quite nice. But then there are other things that you can do which are quite specialist. Like, for example, you can be, talking in, and we talk about this on Friday, Dawn, kind of talking about different kind of Facebook groups that you can join and kind of chat to and target people specifically as well. So you can kind of attack things from both angles. And they're both pretty successful, I think, especially joint.
Thank you.
And I have an idea, Ian, where I can perhaps introduce you to some of our educators and set up a little conference call for us, and we can talk about the education market and how we can all help each other. So there's something perhaps we could do there as well.
That'd be good, Dawn. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Who else has got some questions?
Well, it's Louisa here.
Hello, Louisa.
Hello. Sorry, I haven't got a picture. My internet is rubbish down here in Somerset.
I'll have to pretend I know what you look like.
Just that you're drunk on all the scrumpy, really, isn't it?
It is. I've got big rosy cheeks. Jordan, thank you so much for making that such a refreshing talk. And you know, there's so much chatter about how much we should be on social media, we should be doing this and we should be doing that, and actually you have made me realise or take account and look back at my website. We build these websites, we put all this content up there, nobody goes, then we beat ourselves up, then we're suddenly going, well, I should be doing more stuff on Facebook, I should be paying for clicks, I should be doing this, no I shouldn't, I should be on Instagram, no I shouldn't, I should be writing a blog. And you get in this cycle, and actually you've given some brilliant bullet points, and for me it will be, I would really like to talk to you further. I will go and look at your 5 tips as well, because I thought that was really funny, that the irony.
Definitely.
The irony of that was brilliant. And I think it would be great if you could do a chat on newsletters, press releases, and the Google Analytics, as Dawn has said, because your delivery and just the simplification for people who want to do and you know, do what we do, which we are actually passionate about. When we get bogged down in all this tech and having to be seen to be doing this other stuff, our actual message, it always gets watered down.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest challenge, I think. And Facebook in particular, I think, is a pain. Social media is just such a pain. It really is. And it's, you know, what should I be posting? What should I be saying? And how often should I be posting? And somebody told me it was 3 days a week, so 3 times a week. And someone told me it's 3 times a day. And what's the answer? I mean, the answer is this: it doesn't make a difference. It really doesn't, in my opinion. We've looked after 70 clients in 3 years, and it doesn't make a massive bit of difference. It moves the needle very, very, in a very tiny way. Whereas you constantly building up your content on your website and you doing Facebook ads will make such a big difference to you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome. Thank you for listening.
Somebody told me that social media is a necessary evil. You know,
I believe that. It's horrible.
Other people have said it's all ego. So
that's the biggest challenge. I think that let me give you an example. So obviously my team do the social media for us, and I don't sign it off. I don't look at it because I honestly don't care. I know they send out when we've got press for clients, they put it on there. They say little cute things like Happy Friday or whatever, Happy Hump Day, and little pictures of my dog and whatever. It's fine. I don't really mind. It doesn't have to be about me and about what I think is important. I don't think it really matters. I mean, I'm not Kim Kardashian, so I don't think it makes
I will be changing some of my spec with you tomorrow, because even though we've been working together for 2 months, and I know I've been quite challenging, I recognise myself with some of the complaints, like very precious about the brand, etc. That was very useful for me. I learned a lot from that, Jordan, and we will be refining what you do for us to maximise our membership money. So that'll probably be music to your ears. Including stop signing stuff off, just let them get on with it.
Pretty much.
Okay, any other questions? David, I heard a deep intake of breath there. I know it was you.
Oh.
You've written it down. How do we derive traffic to the website rather than concentrate on SEO?
How has he written it down?
Traffic to the website rather than concentrating on SEO.
Well, how can we do it? So fundamentally, it's quite difficult to not do both at the same time. So if you're driving traffic, you can drive traffic through, for example, like social media ads are really useful, general social media, less useful, newsletters, incredibly useful, and obviously all the backlinks and that sort of thing. But equally, the more traffic you've got coming on your website anyway, the more your SEO is building. So it's one of those situations where one is instant and the other one is slowly going up or going down, depending on if you're doing it poorly. So that's kind of how it is. But fundamentally, if I say I got your news article today, Dawn says, 5 tips for stress-free Christmas made online, you'll suddenly have 500 people on your website today. But then you have the usual amount tomorrow. It won't make a massive difference to you. But if I keep doing that on a consistent basis, the baseline will keep going up and up and up and up. And that's what the SEO is fundamentally, the baseline.
Okay. Anybody else any questions before we're going to have to love and leave the fabulous Jordan? Nope, no more questions. If you have questions, obviously you can see how personable he is. You can just pick up the phone, drop him an email.
Won't be in the office. Yeah, so you can. So my email address is jordan@sanity-marketing.com. So do feel free to email me.
Yes, and if you would copy me your PowerPoint presentation, please, Joshua, I will get it out to everybody who couldn't make the call.
Great.
Because
I do have some notes as well. See, I must admit, I didn't use them. I thought I would. I've got another laptop. Look.
Yeah.
I thought I'd use it. I didn't read. I ended up didn't read through them. I thought, oh gosh, maybe I. But then I thought, no. I think it's better.
That's fine. Because some people probably read it, quickly scan it. Other people want to listen to the whole recording. So, as I said, I've got lots of questions for you, but I'm going to keep them for our session tomorrow.
Great.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your interest, your questions. Really echo Louisa's comments about having learnt a lot, because you put it in layman's terms, and you addressed it for the people. So that message is getting through. Thank you.
No, thank you so kind. Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.